Everybody in and good? Everybody's in? You guys are in?
Do what?
You guys in okay?
I'm good.
You guys are all in?
Oh.
Ready?
Okay, thank you so much for coming tonight.
Mr. Mayor, before we start the business portion of the meeting, I'd like to cede the floor to the city manager to give us an update on what's going on Broadway Street currently.
That'd be great, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners. Just a quick update. I received notice that there is a sizable fire in the 1100 block of Broadway. It was caused by the city's contractor hitting a medium pressure gas line while they were working on our sewer bursting project. The gas that escaped subsequently ignited, so we have about a 15 to 25 foot flame in that area. You may have seen that on social media. We are keeping our social media up to date with the latest and greatest information. No one was hurt, not the contractor or any of the nearby residents. About 16 houses had to be evacuated within a 150-foot range. The flames do put out some heat, but there is currently no structural damage to any of the residences nearby. What it has affected is the roadway itself, which is slowly melting. ONG is on site working to shut off the gas some distance away from the current fire. We do not have an estimated time of shut off at this point in time. We also know that one of the overhead electric lines was affected, so there may be some power outages nearby. At this time, again, no one hurt, neither the contractor nor any of the nearby residents. And of course, the area is being cordoned off. Right now, we have fire trucks and police vehicles, but they will shortly be replaced by proper street barricades. And as soon as I have any additional information, I'd be glad to share that.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, thank you so much for coming tonight. We do have a special guest open our meeting. We have Connor Vondren, who is a 7th grader at Grove. His parents are Joe and Carissa Vondren. And so with that, we're going to turn it over, Mr. Mayor.
I call this meeting to order.
Want to get together. There we go. Come right up, come right up. You got it? All right, very good. Thank you, sir. Oh, stay there, Dad. I don't blame you. Awesome. Thank you for doing that tonight for us. Okay, I like that so much better when we have the kids here. All righty, so we will call the roll.
Here.
Ingalls? Here. Frazier? Here. Holt?
Here.
Rutherford?
Here.
Seaborn?
Here.
Richter? We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. All righty, and for our invocation, Pastor Desi Sharp Brummett from St. Paul's United Methodist Church has agreed to come do that for us. And Pastor, you can come right up to the microphone. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation to open in prayer. In my study, I came across a prayer for discernment by Hugh Cameron that I thought appropriate. Let's pray together. Almighty God, in a world of change, you placed eternity in our hearts and gave us power to discern good from evil. Grant us sincerity, that we may persistently seek the thing that endures, refusing those which perish, and that amid things vanishing and deceptive, we may see the truth steadily, follow the light faithfully, and grow ever richer in that love which is the life of all people. Through Jesus Christ our Savior. Amen. Amen.
If you'll join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first, couple of items, we've got some recognition items, so I'll come down front and we'll do those. Item 1 is recognition of the City of Shawnee emergency response personnel for providing EMS services during a special delivery. So we're going to recognize Corporal Brandon Fulmer, Sergeant Kane Thornberry, Sergeant Walker Cross, and Miss Haley Willis. And I will come right up front. This is really cool. That is awesome. Let me read these notes I have to the emergency response personnel recognition. This is a really cool thing. City of Shawnee is grateful and wholeheartedly praises the successful assistance coordinated by our 911 dispatch communicator and rendered by our dedicated firefighters in providing emergency medical services assisted by REACT EMS during the surprise delivery of baby girl Magnolia Jade. I'll use that on Saturday, January 27, 2024. Shawnee Fire Department's emergency response played a critical role in supporting and guiding Mom Ellie through the surprise arrival of her baby Magnolia Jade. The crew's quick thinking and emergency medical expertise were instrumental in easing concerns arising from this sooner than expected but joyous moment. The City of Shawnee would also like to express its gratitude to the community for their ongoing support and trust in our public safety and emergency response services. The incident serves as a testament to the unwavering commitment of our firefighters and 911 dispatch to ensure the safety and well-being of our citizens. And that's Sergeant Walker Cross, Sergeant Kay Thornberry, Corporal Brandon Fulmer, and 911 telecommunicator Haley Willis will be receiving certificates of recognition for their participation in the events that occurred during the early morning hours of January 27th. So we have certificates of recognition here, and I'll read the first one. See. Certificate of recognition presented to Sergeant Walker Cross. Right there, this way I can't see you. On behalf of the City of Shawnee to acknowledge his integral support in providing EMS services during the unexpected delivery of Magnolia Essery Pawar. Very, very cool. And this one is for Brandon Fulmer. There we go. You guys are right on. Thornberry and Haley Willis. And she is just so cute. So thank you guys so much for your service and everything that you do for us to keep us safe. Is there anything you would like to say about, what happened? And I mean, anything you guys want to talk about, the floor is all yours if you'd like.
Mom did everything.
Mom did the hard part, that is for sure. Is there anything you guys would like to say?
Just thank you guys.
Yeah. Well, it turned out perfect.
Yes, it did. It absolutely was perfect.
Yes,
Everyone's happy and healthy.
That is so great to see.
Group photos at the
Yeah,
certificate.
group photos. Yeah, where's your certificates? You guys can jump in.
Say baby.
Thank you guys again. Thank you. And next up, also very, very cool. So we have the Three Grove School Wildcats robotics team dominated the state robotics competition, which held at the Oklahoma State University last year. So let's bring them up. Everybody come on up. Come on up. side. There's another gun. So let me read this here. Three Grove School Wildcat robotics teams dominated, did you dominate? All right. The state robotics competition, which was held at Oklahoma State University last year. The third team, named Golden Robots, won second place in the core values category. Fortunately, they could not be with us this evening. The second team, called Gears of Entropy, won third place in the robot performances as well as third place overall. With the overall win, they qualified for participation in the World Championship. Very, very cool. And last but not least, the first team, with the call sign of Complexity, won second place in the robot performance and first place overall. They are the state champions, and of course they qualified to participate in the World Robotics Championship. The City of Shawnee is excited to extend its wholehearted congratulations to the awesome robotics team for their successful state championship runs and wishes them the best of success in their upcoming World Championship competitions. So when is World?
April 18th, I think,
Yeah.
17th,
So coming up fairly soon. Yeah, very good. Where will that be this year?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, okay.
And donations are accepted.
There you go. Yeah. Well, that is awesome. The coaches want to come up and receive these and get pictures and all that?
Let them do it, we'll take a picture.
Okay, so we can do. Okay, so I've got, let's see, this is the Gears of Entropy, who's with that team? You want to take that? Very good. Let's see, Golden Robots. They're the ones that aren't here. There we go. And then we got, oh, this is just state championship for Complexity. Who wants to represent them? There we go. So can we bring the certificate down here? There we go. Come in here, because I know they want to get photos. And I'll hold the one for the team that couldn't be here. Squeeze in. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. We got to act like we're friends now. There we go. So this is kind of getting to be a habit in Shawnee, isn't it? Yeah. Robotics. This is awesome. Is there anything coaches would like to say? You guys.
Yes, Chloe's got something.
What's that?
Paper.
You have something?
It's the competition that we are participating in.
Do you want to read that?
Sure.
Yeah. No, please do. I'll hold this for you.
Okay.
And it's all yours.
Our robotics team participates in the first LEGO League program. We compete in 4 different areas in this competition. The first is robot design, where teams build and program autonomous LEGO robots to do tasks on a LEGO field. The second is robot performance, where we compete against other teams for maximum points on the LEGO game field. The third is the engineering and design project, where teams design and create an original invention relating to a prompt. This season's prompt is STEAM, science, technology, engineering, and math. My team, Gears of Entropy, came up with an environmental beautification and ocean cleanup project with a connected underwater glass bridge for people to walk through and appreciate marine life. Complexity, our sister team, who is also here with us today, created a wind chime project to help students without musical programs get musical education. They are also creating lesson plans so that more schools will have access to music education. The fourth and final section is first core values. Every team who enters this competition must have gracious professionalism, which means that they follow the 6 core values: discovery, innovation, impact, inclusion, teamwork, and fun. This means we explore ideas, use creative thinking to solve problems, improve our world with what we have learned through these experiences, respect and lift each other up through everything we do, and have fun while doing so. Core values are the most important part, highlighting working together both as a team and with other teams.
Very cool. Good job. I'll let you cut those back so you've got both of those. Very good. Congratulations to all of you. Good job. Quick picture. Don't go yet. You want to hold those up there? There we go.
2, 3.
Uh-huh.
All right, you're good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that's going to get us to item 3, which is citizen participation. I've got the list up back where I sit. I'll read those off.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I'm going to give them just a second to clear the room. Okay, we've got several folks that have signed up to speak this evening. First is Ms. Reba Ingram. And I know I saw her. There she is. How are you tonight?
I'm doing just fine. How y'all doing?
Just move that microphone if you need to. Just bend it down. There you go.
I'm here to speak on the behalf of the homeless people. I've been working with these people for 12 years with different organizations around Shawnee, and my major concern for them is I give my love to them, and the major concern for them is finding a place for them to live and stay and get them off the streets, and we're doing the best we can to help them every day. And my heart goes out for them. And I've been, like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years with different organizations. And I just like to see most of them get housed. And if all of them gets housed, we're doing a good job. We've been, and I've been helping out down at the Resource Center for over a year now, and I see a lot of people come through there that needs clothing and stuff like that, and we do that every day for them. We give them a meal, and the Salvation Army goes out their way to serve meals every day for them, and we just want to keep continuing doing that for them, because every time you talk to one of these people, their faces brighten up, they start smiling. It's just showing your love to them, and they receive that from us. And I just love doing that for them. And the more I can do for them, the better it is for me, because God sees that, and He's going to give me 10 times more back for doing what I do. And I just want to continue doing that for them. And that's the main concern for me tonight, is just making sure these people has good places to go and stay and have a good meal every day. And that's what I speak on today. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much. Next is Fiona Shaughnessy.
Hello, everybody. Serving as the Public Relations Coordinator for Natalie Arnett State Farm, I am able to invest my time in the growth and progress of Shawnee. Out of all of the things that I support, Potawatomi Go's Built Environment Committee has quickly become one of my favorite contributions to the growing city of Shawnee. Potawatomi Go Built Environment Committee currently focuses on bike and pedestrian safety by hosting events and groups such as the Mayor's Sidewalk Safari, walking audits, and currently planning an event that will have the opportunity to educate the entire community on bicycle awareness and why it's important for everyone. This focus on long-term goals will create Shawnee to be an even more quality environment that will create a place where people want to live, work, and raise their families here. This focus on longevity will positively impact what is on the horizon for Shawnee. Thank you to our friends at POGO and the Built Environment Committee.
Thank you very much. Next is Sarah Inselman.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for your time this evening. Push that a little bit. As you probably guessed, that I want to speak for just a moment on the homeless situation. I want to begin publicly to thanking Erica Genti for laying a groundwork for a good foundation of growth towards successful solutions for the city of Shawnee and for our unhoused citizens. We feel that homelessness is a reflection of the health of a community, and we are excited about the outpouring of interest about it. Back to the survey, it was one of the #1 concerns with the citizens in Shawnee. And so I want to be positive. I want us to take the attitude of let's roll up our sleeves, let's make this vision work. We have a lot of stuff in front of us, a lot of possibilities. We say that we want affordable housing. Let's make that vision become a reality. We say that we want a tent encampment. Let's make that vision a reality. We say that we want an overnight shelter. Let's make that vision a reality. We need to cast a more positive vision for the future, where our city is not known for its homeless crisis, but for its compassion and its resilience and its innovations. We're excited to hear proof that the city of Shawnee is dedicated to working alongside many organizations that are connected to pooling resources and sharing the best practices for maximum effect. We are, however, concerned with the city of Shawnee's apparent inability to maintain the homeless coordinator position. We expect and are pleased with the city's working towards building a more collaborative culture. That's something that we've got to do. We need to see that happening. Erica was she was phenomenal in her ability to educate, to pull different organizations in Shawnee together to move forward in a much more effective manner. And we are committed to continue with that progress and to see these visions become a reality for our city. Because we are here to meet the needs of the unhoused citizens through the collaboration of multiple organizations and you, as our city leaders, it is that you are an important part of that. And we all need to work together and desire to do so. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, looks like we have Rob Morris. How are you tonight, Rob?
Pretty good. I just have a couple quick things. The sales tax in 2018, there were 6 parks total in that sales tax, which means 6 parks have to get redone. 3 parks got redone, 3 parks haven't. Where's the misappropriation of millions of dollars when we're told that there is no money for those other 3 parks, one of which is Celebration of Life Park right over there. So those have to be fixed because we voted on it to be fixed. Y'all don't get to change your minds and just allocate money elsewhere. Next thing, the 1,000-foot rule for the homeless shelter. Would somebody just be honest with us and come out and say, hey, we're doing this because we're going to put it where it is right now? Because they're getting ready to put showers in that shelter and all kinds of stuff. We're not going to say no to them and put it somewhere else in town for that shelter. We're going to say, hey, neighborhood over there, y'all don't get to say anymore. Here it is. And that's what we're talking about tonight. Let's be honest with it, because it's not going to go out there on the north side of I-40 where there actually is room. Let's not lie about that. Next, and I'm actually glad the kids left for this one. You know, we did that no sit, no lie, and what'd it do? Got some people off Main Street, sure did. Did it fix the problem though, or even make a good start? Because instead of that lady dying on Main Street where it looks bad, she instead died outside of that corridor at the old junior high over here. Somebody still died either way. So we didn't actually do anything by the no sit, no lie, except said, shoo, go on. So when we talk about shelters, no sit, no lie, and all of that, let's not be hypocrites. We need a carrot, we need a stick. It needs to be equal of both. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Teresa Cody.
Mayor, Commissioners, I would like for you to table item number 7 till there is some decent discussion and that we understand are given the information we need, because we all know, just like Rob said, Ward number 3 is always affected with all the problems, and you guys don't live here. So We want to have clear understanding as to what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what the rules are. And we need rules. And I'm so happy that Yana can work with us on that and have discussion with us about it in Ward 3. Item number 10, I would also like that to be tabled too. We do not need any more problems with addiction being put in front of our citizens. We have plenty of that in Ward 3. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see if we've got anybody else. One more, Rick Young. There he is. How are you doing tonight, Rick?
For those that don't know, I'm Rick Young, Ward 3 stakeholder. On advice of my council and my staff, you haven't seen me before this mic, I've been on a 90-day moratorium and a little reprieve from speaking at this body. A lot of reflection is going on between then and now. A lot of things have happened that was mentioned here tonight. I have 3 points and I'll conclude, maybe 4. The liquor store and Liars Club. I don't know about you, but there are things that are just ironic that we can't script. So for the voice from Ward 3, it's a no. As a matter of fact, some of the people in Ward 3 use an extra lift, but I wouldn't use that before the council tonight. Secondly, the homeless shelter, the unhoused shelter, Ward 3 also, no. Emphatic no. Thirdly, redistricting, gerrymandering, or whatever you want to call it, redrawing the lines for Prop 1, a historic 70-year that's changed what we do in Shawnee. I'm not sure about you, but I'm 65 years old. I've never seen one person cut their nose off to spite their face. Nobody. Lastly, absentee balloting. And I'm just saying this to the council publicly, that there are spotlights coming larger than we've seen, 30,000 feet. And so until June 18th, this is election year. We have some wards up. And at the same time, we need to educate, we need to vet, then we need to vote. So between then and now, everybody on the dais, the staff, and those people that nudge our city, we need to do a better job. When we have 1,262 people and 1,472 people that tells us what we're going to do in Shawnee, it's not good enough. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay. To my agenda. Alrighty, item 4, consider approval of the consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to pull off the consent agenda? If not, we'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel and Mark. So we have a motion and a second for approval of item 4, and I've got to get signed back in. I've been gone so long. 2, 3. We will call the question. Did you get it? Yes. Okay, good. Motion passes 6-0. Item 5, presentation of the pet of the month by Animal Control. Do we have a pet? There we go. I see a little dog coming. We kept him waiting. He's a very patient little dog. Very cute little patient dog.
So we have Gus. He loves everybody and everything. He was just out when y'all were talking, playing with the children.
There you go.
He's between 3 and 5, a little bit older guy. His adoption fee is $5. He will be spayed or neutered and a rabies shot before he goes home. But he's looking for a home with children.
Yeah, I bet.
He has a lot of energy.
I can tell. So what would it cost to adopt him?
$5.
$5 whole dollars. Very good. We appreciate you bringing him out, and we're sorry we
Thank
We
you.
made you wait.
That's all right. He was having fun. That's what
I bet
counts.
he was. I bet he'd just jump right in somebody's car and go home with them. Okay, item 6 is a mayor's proclamation, so I'll come down front and we'll do that. It's on the American Red Cross Month. And is Lloyda here? There she is. Thought I saw her earlier.
It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you. How are you, sir?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. So we have got a mayor's proclamation for American Red Cross Month. Whereas in the aftermath of the Civil War, Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross, and for nearly 142 years, the employees, volunteers, and supporters of the American Red Cross have met loss and disaster with compassion and care. They remind us that we must leave no one behind. This month, we celebrate the ordinary citizens who perform extraordinary acts of service, and we honor the Red Cross for its commitment to making our country and our world a better place. And whereas the American Red Cross makes no discrimination as to nationality, race, religious beliefs, class, or political opinions, it endeavors to relieve the suffering of individuals being guided solely by their needs, and to give priority to the most urgent cases of distress. And whereas we would like to remember our heroes here in Shawnee who work tirelessly to help in time of disaster, when someone needs life-saving blood or the comfort of a helping hand, they provide round-the-clock support to members of the military, veterans, and their families, and teach life-saving classes in CPR, aquatic safety, and first aid. And whereas across the country and around the world, the American Red Cross responds to disasters, including the most recent tornadoes in Oklahoma and more specifically in Pottawatomie County, ready to provide food, shelter, and emergency supplies. And whereas we dedicate the month of March to all those who support the American Red Cross mission to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies, during the American Red Cross Month, I encourage everyone to take the steps to learn or teach first aid. Our community depends on the American Red Cross, which relies on donations of time, money, and blood to fulfill its humanitarian mission. Now, therefore, I, Ed Bolt, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the month of March to be American Red Cross Month. So, I don't know who wants to take this.
Ray, please.
Ray, take that, okay, very good. Thank you guys, very, squeeze in tight, because that's, boy, do you come down closer. Wherever you need to be.
Thank you for your
But thank you guys so much for all that you do. I mean, we all know what happened in April, and you guys were right here to help all of us, and you know, that was very much appreciated. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say?
I just want to thank you for your support and to let everyone know that we are gearing up for storm season and we need volunteers.
Yeah.
So
What I was gonna
I will
say.
be out in the lobby if you want to speak with me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
She said it already. Thank you.
Okay, item 7, discussion of potential amendments to the portions of Article 7, Section 22-410 of Chapter 22 related to the operation of shelters for homeless persons. Mr. Harkins, how are you tonight?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This is a discussion item. The intent is to begin a discussion process about where we're at currently. One of the things staff has encountered in discussions with stakeholders in the community, whether they be the Homeless Roundtable, the Native Homeless Alliance, internal staff discussions, or discussions with just concerned citizens and property owners in the community, is something has to be done. As we've looked through different potential options, one of the things that staff continues to come back to is how do we do something while maintaining compliance with our own codes? We do not want to just simply ignore our own codes and ordinances, which is one of the reasons why staff has struggled to come up with viable solutions beyond what has been suggested, as in put them on a bus and send them somewhere else. Having said that, one of the barriers to do anything, anywhere, in any way, shape, or form in the community is our current zoning code, particularly section 22410, which currently states that while it is a conditional use to do a homeless shelter, you currently cannot build one or have one located within 1,000 feet of any city park, school, public school, or residential property. Note, not residentially zoned property, residential property. That means when you map that out, it looks like this. Anywhere in the gray, particularly, for example, on the north end or in the middle of the airport runway, is a viable option. Nowhere else in our community. That includes the current and only homeless shelter in Shawnee, the Salvation Army. If that facility were to, for some reason, close, it could not be reopened as a homeless shelter. If it were to burn down tonight, it could not reopen. If it wanted to expand, it could not happen. If the current day center, the Homeless Resource Center, wanted to add beds for overnight accommodation as an overnight shelter, it could not happen. This is the first barrier toward taking any step in any direction. Hence why we're bringing it to you tonight. Having said that, staff has researched potential options, including what that might look like if we reduced it from 1,000 feet to 250 and 500 feet as barriers, which are the additional lines that you see on this graphic. And that might be harder to see, but those are in the packet for those in the audience that want to download it as well. Having looked at that, that still takes a lot of areas into account in the community. In looking at a potential amendment to the current zoning code, staff has developed the potential discussion item for tonight that would amend the code for the 1,000 feet barrier to remain in place for a city park or public school, but remove it from residential property. The conditional use requirement would still stay in place as it's written in code now. Additional screening or barriers would need to be in place for any homeless shelter or encampment site. That means whether it's privately owned, a nonprofit, a public-private partnership, or a publicly owned property. All of that would have to stay in place. The conditional use permit process would still be in place, which means it would not only go before Planning Commission and it would be publicly advertised, it would become before you as the governing body for final approval. It's important to remember that the conditional use process means conditions can be added on as a requirement that must be met and kept. The other sections of this current part of the code would stay in place as well, and meaning an plan of operations, security, all of those things that you would need to have in order to operate any kind of encampment or shelter site would still stay in place. These are examples on these slides of encampment sites and shelters. The one on this slide, for example, is what we call a pallet shelter. It is an actual brand. A company makes these, sends it out. You can install it on site, either on the ground or on a concrete pad. Why would we propose this amendment now for discussion? Again, this is a preparatory step. Without this being addressed, nothing can happen anywhere in the community. which means if the city, for example, were to undertake something, we would be violating our own code, not something we want to do. If anybody else wanted to try and do anything, this step would have to be taken as well. It's also important to note that there is not a site selected. Staff has nothing in the books, cooking in a secret room behind a locked door that you can't get past unless you have access past a purple water cooler at this time. If somebody suggests a site to staff, we will do our very best to be diligent in reviewing it to see if it can be code compliant and what it would take for any party to make that site a reality. But any site, again, would need to have this requirement met, hence the proposed code amendment. What we propose as a discussion item tonight is to begin answering any questions you might have, and then take this to the Planning Commission at their March 6th meeting as a proposed text amendment to the existing zoning code, and then bring it back to you on March 18th for review and approval if you desire. Having said that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
I have one to start. We had a request to table this item so that we could have more discussion at a future date. I just want to clarify off the top, this is discussion only.
This is discussion
There will
only.
be no action tonight on
No,
this.
staff is not proposing any action, only discussion.
And this vehicle is our only way to have a public discussion outside of a special meeting.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to have more questions, but I just wanted to start with that.
Okay, what else have you got? You might as well while you're started.
Yeah, I was still jotting them down, but
It's okay.
for me, let me just walk through a little bit of it. It's a non-starter for me to have no requirement of a distance to residential. I'm one vote, but it's a non-starter for me. And I think for real and perceived reasons. Let me outline a little bit of my struggles with this issue. We leave in a distance to a city park, which is a city-owned property, but we take out any distance requirement to a residential or privately owned facility. Real or perceived, I think the perception it creates is that we value our own property more than we value that of others. And so for me, that's a hurdle we have to get over as we look to revise this. That's a first read for me. I have a question, and Ryan, maybe it's you, maybe it's someone else, as we get into, when we deal with residential zoning, industrial zoning, whatever zoning code, we have non-conforming lots and non-conforming issues.
Correct.
So we can do PUDs, we can do CUPs, whatever we do, or PUDs more, but to get around a zoning requirement.
This from the gentleman that doesn't like PUDs.
I don't like PUDs, but I'm talking theoretically.
Sure.
We can
So
and have done them.
There's two parts to that. One is the non-conforming part, because that's handled separately. Non-conforming means you can continue to operate as is.
Right.
So if you have a non-conforming use on a lot, that can stay. If there are, say for example, we dealt with non-conforming issues, non-conforming uses after the tornado. Because it was part of a federally declared disaster, those could rebuild as is under the provisions of the current code. But if something were to happen and to a building that was a non-conforming use, aside from that, they would have to meet the current requirements that are in place today. Moving on to the CUP, PUD type issue, could someone come in potentially and ask for a request to do something like this as a use with one of those processes? Yes, they could. The current code says you have to do a conditional use if you want to do a homeless shelter, but it has to be 1,000 feet from any of those other uses. So there's a process in place to do that now. The operating side of that would be the additional requirements that whoever's running that shelter would have to meet in order to make a location feasible.
But it may take me a minute to get to the heart of my question, but I'm trying to frame the issue and then maybe look at how we frame the language. So let's say we leave 1,000 in on our distances, and we find the perfect location. All of us uniformly agree the public schedules a parade, it's the right spot, but it's 999 feet from one of these three categories. We could still pass it by either amending the code or doing a PUD, like, I guess that's my
You would
question.
still need to amend the code.
So we could amend the code at that point when we find the perfect, like, we found this celebrated location, everyone wants to do it, a funder's so excited, they want to fund the whole thing. So there's, I think what I'm getting at is we're creating community instability by taking away any, like, every person in the community is now going to think it's going to be on the backside of their fence, or could be, because we've taken it out. When really, we could change the code, we find the spot and everybody thinks it's the spot, we can change the code.
Okay.
So I think that's what I'm struggling with, like, we're creating instability with this language.
Right.
I have a couple more,
I
sorry.
see where you're coming.
And maybe Joe needs to weigh in on that, on what vehicle. What I'm trying to say is, like, we're creating instability when the commission could still pass something.
When's the best timing is really the heart of your question.
And I think that's a fair question, yeah.
And right now, since you could wait, again, this is a discussion item to begin that discussion, because at some point, to do anything, anywhere, you have to take this step. At some point, the only discussions as far as solutions that we continue to try and develop come up against a number of obstacles. This isn't the only one. Funding is another. And then the optics of, why are you doing that anyway? Why is the round table or other groups not stepping up? And the reality is, there isn't a single group in the round table that's ready or able to do that on their own. Ultimately, as a continuum of care, they might be able to develop into a nonprofit. They can start to work in that direction, but that's a lot to ask for them as they're coming along and building their capacity up right now too. So the city has to somehow be a partner in order to help move things forward and continue that discussion. This is definitely another way we can do that.
Ryan, my question, I have a couple, but I think, do our current ordinances, or these boundaries 1,000 feet, do they limit us or outside organizations from applying for grants and the funding to potentially build those sites? Is that
No.
the thought process behind getting the ordinances?
No. The thought process is truly to try and find potential locations that may work better, that are closer to services and the rest of the community. If you look on the map, the first map where we drew the 1,000-foot buffer, yes, there's a lot of area on the north side of the community, but there's not a lot of access to anything else. You can have a site, but you're transporting people everywhere to do anything. Or you're having to get services to come on site and do that provide there.
I kind of take Daniel's point. I mean, nobody wants this in their backyard, whether you live north of town, south of town. The 1,000-foot is in there for a reason. You know, that's the reason it was originally put in there, was for that specific, and it creates instability. And we, at any time, we could come in and pass something if we need to amend the ordinance.
1,000 feet is a really long ways, and if you're someone who's ever had to open a business or deal with zoning things, and you have to deal with the matter of feet, 300 feet for someone opening a bar, for example, 300 feet from a church, doesn't seem like that far, or doesn't, it seems like that would be an easy thing to do, but it's actually kind of hard in Shawnee, in most parts. So 1,000 feet is a really long ways. So no one wants it in their backyard for sure. I mean, is there a proposed compromise to meet in the middle somewhere on that?
Again, that's-
Are other cities successful with a reduced amount? 1,000 feet, you can't go anywhere.
Other cities run the gamut. Many communities only put them, for example, Lincoln, Nebraska will only allow them in certain zoning districts. So the one homeless shelter in there is in an area that's zoned industrial with commercial closer to a main arterial. So it's a property that's kind of back behind everything in a warehouse type park situation. Could you find that location? Potentially. Finding it and building it is another story. Does this prevent us one way or another from going after grants? No. The problem is anytime you go for a grant that includes construction, especially at the state and federal level, there are longer term commitments involved with regard to operating and maintaining it. So at this point, the city has been reluctant up till now to have those steps taken and go after some of those grants. When we have, we went after those grants to use in other areas, street outreach, shower trailers, some of those things. Doesn't mean we can't do that in the long run, but it just means there are just more strings that we have to jump through and maintain a longer term commitment in some way.
I think this, hopefully the public understands, this is an immensely difficult issue where we nearly, I don't want to say unanimously because I'm not sure we can do anything unanimously, but the vast majority of the public sees a need for mitigation. But then where to put it becomes the super challenging issue. I'm wondering if you can give us a list of cities in Oklahoma that have overnight shelters and the corresponding ordinance. Like, so if Oklahoma City has one, what are their distances? Tulsa, we know, has one. What are their distances to all the, because Nebraska's great, I mean, except for their football team, but, you know, what's close to home? That's one of the things I've listed.
As a side note, I would think most Sooner fans would be jealous of the volleyball squad as well, Commissioner.
Valid point, but softball. So, this may be a question for Joe, and I don't know that it even applies, but I've just written down thoughts that I had questions on. Certain items, and I'm trying to think of any that are in this meeting, they apply more in our authorities, have required a supermajority vote. Can it be written into an ordinance or whatever that a location of a homeless shelter requires a supermajority vote of the commission?
If I can.
And I'm not advocating for it, I'm just, this is a big, difficult decision that if, especially if we're going to say you can build it outside any house you want, you better have more than 4.
Sure. The current zoning code has a requirement, and we'll talk about this on a later agenda item, that it does allow for protest petitions. There's a certain requirement that has to be met. If the petition is deemed valid, then a supermajority of the governing body does have to vote in favor of that for it to take effect. So that is currently in place now. In the new UDC, that's certainly something, if the commission deems they want, we can carry that over as a provision as well. Most communities do have something like that. With regard to protesting overall something, again, because it's a conditional use, there is multiple notifications that go in place, so there would be ample opportunity for people to have input and discussion. Are we open to other numbers as far as the standoff distance? Absolutely. This is not a hard and fast requirement for staff. This is something we're throwing out merely to begin the discussion.
And as I understand it, based on what you said earlier, and maybe I just didn't understand it, was even if the distance was 0, there's still a lot of other hurdles that it would have to
There are.
go
I mean,
through.
you still have a conditional use process you have to go through. You still, for example, if it's an overnight shelter that has a kitchen, there's still commercial requirements with regard to the building code for commercial grade kitchens. And all of those other current zoning and building requirements still have to be met. that's still in place. That just really isn't, here is an amendment to change part of the current code with requirements for a buffer distance from one area.
In our special call meeting with OMAG earlier, our presenter talked about public safety, and I think, our job is to preserve and promote public safety is more than police and fire, and we've seen the amazing job that our fire do. We've had multiple instances of the amazing work our police do. But when we're talking about promoting public safety, is there anything that would prevent us from saying location, a homeless shelter is permitted in R1, 2, and 3?
No.
Why wouldn't we look for an industrial area? And I know we also have all these other, why wouldn't you put an industrial area?
So right now, it's allowed as a conditional use overall as a process.
So we could, as part of the amendment, say it's not allowed in R1, R2, or R3.
Correct.
Okay. I think I'm out, sorry.
You have it. Anybody else?
Well, I guess.
No, there you go. Didn't last long, but go ahead.
Can you weigh in on when we can and can't institute a supermajority?
Provided that we follow the appropriate steps, there's not really a restriction as to when you can and cannot.
Okay. Are there any instances in this body that currently, I know in the municipal authority when it comes to incurring debt and those kind of things, which I would assume airport authority as well, is there anything on this side where we currently require a supermajority?
I cannot think of one off the top of my head, other than the example Ryan's provided.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Questions? I mean, one thing we're guaranteed of is nobody's gonna like it. I mean, the situation we have, nobody likes. Any solution we come up with, I mean, nobody's gonna like. I know when Oklahoma City put their center in, I think the way they phrased it was the location that, I don't know, people hated the least, or something like that. I don't know. So, I mean, it's definitely not gonna be an easy thing, but the situation we have is not an easy thing. No one likes it. But, this is something that I think we're going to have to take a real serious look at and deal with it in a serious fashion.
Question for the mayor.
Yes, sir.
When you say Oklahoma City put it in, is it city-owned?
It's not, but
Okay,
I
didn't
believe
think it
it's...
was, but I just want to make sure.
But I mean, obviously, they had to approve the location at some point, so I think...
But the shelter itself is not city-owned?
No, it's not. It's that Homeless Alliance, I think, that owns it. I could be mistaken, but that's my understanding.
I think that's correct.
Yeah. And I know I heard Dan Strom talk about that, the guy that runs that organization, and he said, we looked at lots of different locations, and it was kind of the one that people hated the least.
Right.
I mean, I don't think this is ever anything anyone's ever going to be thrilled about. I don't think we're having parades, Daniel.
No, I don't think so either. I was just trying to present a best-case scenario.
No, I know exactly what you're doing. Yeah.
But I think especially this commission and staff right now, everyone's interests are aligned in the fact that there's no reason for us to put this somewhere where it devalues a bunch of people's homes. And there's no reason for us to put it somewhere that doesn't make the most sense for the greatest good of the community. It doesn't help any of us to do that, so it's a really hard problem to get a grip on, and ever since I've been on commission, we've been listening to citizens' requests that we do something, so we have to take some next steps to figure out what that's going to be.
It's not going to be easy for anybody.
It almost needs to be in a commercial district. I mean, if we want, food and amenities. I mean, if you put it in a residence, they're still having to hike into town or whatever else to get stuff. So I mean, that's the ideal fit. You're away from residence, but you know, commercial property is going to be terribly expensive too.
Yep. I don't think there's an easy fix. If there was, it'd be fixed, right? Any other discussion at this point? So I think Commissioner Matthews has made a request for some information. I guess you'll gather for
We
him.
will do
And
that.
is there anything else that we are looking for? Okay. Pretty good. Good discussion for a very hard issue. Item 8, consideration of a resolution calling and providing for the holding of nonpartisan general and general runoff elections in the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, for the purpose of nominating and electing candidates for offices of mayor, city commissioner of the 2nd Ward, city commissioner of the 3rd Ward, city commissioner of the 4th Ward, establishing a filing period and qualifications for such offices, designating the manner of electing the various city offices named herein, providing for said elections to be conducted by the Potawatomi County Election Board, and providing for voting by absentee ballot. Andrea, how are you this evening?
I'm doing wonderful. I don't know if we made this resolution title long enough.
No.
So according to the City of Shawnee Charter and our municipal code, the city must adopt a resolution before a general election or a runoff election for the purpose of electing city commission members can be called. All city commission positions are elected for 4-year terms for the offices of the mayor as well as city commissioners for wards 2, 3, and 4. That current 4-year term is up to expire this year. And the upcoming election would then call for new city commissioners or incumbent city commissioners to be re-elected for the subsequent 4 years, which would cover the second half of 2024 through 2028. You may remember that this will be the first ward-specific election for the city commissioners following last year's voter-approved city charter amendment. And thus, the candidate for mayor would be selected by all voting citizens, whereas the candidates for wards 2, 3, and 4 would be selected by citizens only living within those respective wards. The potential candidates' statutory filing period for the election will be during the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., April 3 through 5. And the filing for office will take place in the Potawatomi County Election Board if the City Commission approves that resolution today. On June 18, the election would then be conducted by the Potawatomi County Election Board, and in the event that a runoff election would be needed, it would take place on August 27. Other important dates for this year's City Commission election are the voter registration deadline, which is May 24, and any absentee ballots would have to be requested from the Secretary of the County Election Board no later than June 3. In reviewing the agenda materials, you may have noticed the wide range of the costs associated with the election. That is entirely dependent on whether the city election will be the only item to decide, or whether there are others who participate and use that very same day, and then we would essentially split the cost for the County Election Board. And the same, of course, applies to the potential runoff selection. What staff is asking the City Commission today is approval of the resolution that authorizes the election on June 18 and potential runoff election on August 27 for the posts of mayor, as well as city commissioners for wards 2, 3, and 4. And I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody got questions? Pretty well housekeeping item. I mean, we're required to do it, so. I don't think anyone's got questions. Thank you so much. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Mark and Darren. All righty, we have a motion and a second. So you are up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution calling and providing for the holding of a nonpartisan general and general runoff elections in the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, for the purpose of nominating and electing candidates for the offices of mayor, city commissioner of the 2nd Ward, city commissioner of the 3rd Ward, and city commissioner of the 4th Ward, establishing a filing period and qualifications for such offices, designating the manner of electing the various city offices named herein, providing for said elections to be conducted by the Potawatomi County Election Board, and providing for voting by absentee ballot.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 7. We'll call the question. And motion passes 6-0. Item 9 is consideration of a contract with Econolite Systems, Inc. for Centrax Mobility Services Agreement and Advanced Transportation Management System. Seth, how are you tonight?
Pretty good, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is really picking up the ball from the 2016-2017 timeframe. Back then, the city upgraded multiple signals in town to allow for remote access and corridor optimization. Unfortunately, subsequent to that, our annual maintenance contract wasn't renewed, and we've slowly been losing connectivity to for our remote access. This contract upgrades our software, but also provides training for staff to utilize the Centrax Advanced Management System as it was originally intended to fully capture that capability. With that, the contract is for $94,730, and staff does recommend approval. I should also note that this contract is a little bit more expensive than what the annual contract will be in the future. I think the annual renewal is somewhere in the $25,000 range. But because we're so far out of date, the contract for this year includes some system setup fees, field installation of equipment. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions we got? No questions. We'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Darren and Cammy. Okay. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 9. We'll call the question.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 10 is a public hearing for a conditional use permit, CUP, to operate a liquor store on the property of 523 South Chapman Avenue. Case number CUP 01-24. Applicant is Jennifer Hunt. Mr. Harkins, it's your turn again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. As noted, this is a conditional use permit request. The property in question is currently zoned C3. It did house a retail establishment as a bar. That bar ceased operation in 2020. It had been in operation for a number of years. The owner of the property told us COVID was not kind, and that's why the business ceased. However, since then, the owner's been looking for new opportunities. The applicant is interested in working with the owner to use the property for a retail liquor store that would be off-premise. However, in order to do that, the conditional use permit must first be approved before the ABLE Commission will even begin to review the license application. ABLE staff has basically said, this is how we do it. It goes through the community first. As I noted, the subject property is C3. With the CUP, retail off-site liquor is a allowed use, but only with the conditional use permit. The Planning Commission, when they reviewed the item, heard citizen comment at their public hearing. However, they had a split 3-3 vote. So they basically have a neutral recommendation to come to you with tonight. In addition, staff received a petition against the CUP request. Staff reviewed that petition and ruled that it was invalid because it didn't have the sufficient number of signatures. Only 3 were valid. Overall, as we noted in the staff report, the protest to the amendment has to either have 20% or more of the area of lots included in the proposed change, or the owners of 50% or more of the area of lots within the 300-foot radius of the exterior boundary of the property in question. If that were to be a valid petition, a 3/5 majority of the members of this body would have to approve the CUP. As I noted, we only received 3 valid signatures, so the petition is invalid. However, to give the full Planning Commission a chance to provide additional input and review and discussion, as well as the public to have additional input, staff is recommending to you that the item be remanded back to the Planning Commission for further consideration and discussion at this time. With that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I do believe the applicant is here to answer questions as well if you have them.
Questions for Ryan?
What's the purpose of sending it back to the planning commission?
You had a 3-3 neutral recommendation. You had a 3-3 tie. You don't have a recommendation one way or another. This would force...
More information?
You potentially could have the chance for the applicant to provide additional information with regard to standoff distances from door to door, for example, of how Able would do their measurements, even though Able will not until they receive a full application. It would give additional discussion between the applicant, the property owner, and the neighbors to occur if desired. It would also give a chance for the full Planning Commission to be in place.
On that letter of protest, you said that there was only 3 votes that were valid.
Mhm.
Is that based on the distance that those people were from that location? That's where that was?
It would be the property owners. So a number of signatures were members of congregations in that 300-foot radius. Unfortunately, because they're not property owners, those are not valid signatures on the protest petition as far as making this 4/5 type of requirement be valid.
When you say property owners, what's the distance in that?
300 feet.
Was everyone within that 300 feet notified that this was in the
Correct.
plans? Okay. That's the final questions. Thank you.
And I would also add, the property owner list of that 300 feet radius was given to the individuals who wanted to initiate the protest petition.
I see. Okay.
Any other questions?
So, item 10 is the public hearing.
Yes, sir.
11 is this. So we're going to have a public hearing.
Well, unless
and
we,
make this decision?
unless we decide to send it back to them, that's a possibility also.
Until plans in place.
So if we don't decide to send it back to them, we would have the public hearing.
Andre's waiting in.
She's,
We published the public hearing, therefore the public hearing has to take place.
okay, so we're going to have a public hearing either way?
Regardless.
Yeah.
That's
There you
right.
go. There you go.
Will that be a special meeting?
No, the public hearing will be right here.
Oh,
It'll be-
okay.
It would be the next thing that we do.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
as soon as I
was-
open it.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. And see if you had another question. Any other questions? Guess not. With that, we'll open the public hearing. So item 11 is consideration of a condition.
No, we're opening the public hearing on item 10.
It is. Thank you. Okay, so with that, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak for this proposition? Including you can come up. There you go, the microphone is yours.
Hello, thank you guys for your time. I'm Jennifer Hunt.
Pretty good.
I'm the applicant.
Okay.
I want to give you a little bit of background on myself. I currently own and operate a small drive-through only liquor store in Pink, Oklahoma, right down the road. And I want to expand my business, so I looked around Shawnee, and I feel like the south side of Shawnee is depressed. And I feel like the only way to lift depression is to have commerce come in, take over the abandoned buildings, and If you have one that starts, more will follow. That's how it works. And the more people that you have bustling around and doing things, the less crime that you have. Yes, it is a liquor store, and it's going to be a drive-through only. That's what I currently do in Pink. It's very safe. No one is loitering in the parking lot. Nobody's drinking and sticking around the liquor store. It's actually a law against loitering at a liquor store. So, I'm here to ask you if I can invest in the south side of Shawnee. That's what I'm asking to do. We are closed on Sundays per law, and I would absolutely follow all laws, everything that we're supposed to follow. We're not here to, I'm not trying to cause any disruption or trouble. It's a very easy process with a drive-through liquor store. Most people would like to pick up their liquor and go home, and that's what we're looking for them to do also. Like I said, and that area is depressed. The current residents have to go 3 to 5 miles for service, and I believe every neighborhood should have service of every kind, whether it is agreed upon or not. And I'm also working on to bring a food truck court to the south side. So I have big plans for the south side. It is my intention to make it better. It is not my intention to make it worse. If you have any questions, I'm open.
Questions for Jennifer?
If someone walks up, are you selling to them?
If they have a valid ID.
Okay.
In the state of Oklahoma, you must have a valid ID. It is not a law that you have to own a car. It is a law that you have to have a valid ID.
Okay.
And I do have an app on my phone, because a lot of people will bring in, I mean, I've seen it, I don't know if you've seen it, but they'll have a license that's good for 4 years. They'll get into trouble and their license is no longer valid. We use the app from Able, so even if they bring me a valid ID, this isn't Walmart, somebody just looking at a date. We scan the app, and I've had it happen several times where it comes back red. It's not a valid ID, even though it still appears valid. So I absolutely take this very seriously, and that's the only app that we use. So walk-ups, yeah, I'm sure the liquor stores 3 to 5 miles away have walk-ups, because they're all in residential, pretty close to it.
Any other questions for Ms. Hunt? Okay, thank you for your time. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? How are you, sir? And if you would, introduce yourself to the clerk.
Yeah, my name is Joe Lee. I'm a representative of UFCW, a union. So we have partnered with Ms. Hunt. We're going to be helping bring good paying jobs that are affordable health insurance, pension plans, and things like that that'll be there. So it's not just a kind of a pop-up deal. We don't just invest in a company that we think is going to be here overnight. So it's something that we want to do. So they'll have, we partnered with her in other things. So that's our intentions, is to bring good paying, affordable health insurance jobs to the Shawnee area. So, okay. And we also represent, just so everybody knows, we represent Homeland grocery stores. So, and our organization, we have 1.4 million members nationwide, and our organization takes care of all of North Texas and all of Oklahoma, and we have about 13,000 members, through Texas and here. So, we have some sway with health insurance, pension programs, and things like that. So they would be good quality jobs that would come to Shawnee.
Do you know what the range is on the payment of the jobs?
No, we haven't talked about that part yet,
Okay.
but I do know some of the pension, we offer, so we do Taft-Hartley, sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied here. Taft-Hartley health insurance funds. So, we administrate them, so she'll be a partner in helping administrate that. So she'll get a say, and we have all kinds of different plans. People at Homeland, for example, they pay $20 a week for family benefits. It's a $400 deductible, a 75-25 split. It's medical, dental, vision, prescription, life insurance, short-term disability, hospitalization. So they get all of that, so for $20. So that's a little bit different It's not really apples to apples because that's a bigger organization. So it's all a matter of where we can fit those members into some of our Taft-Hartley funds. But they will be insured and have pensions, so.
Very good.
Any other questions?
No, guess not. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thanks.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Come on up, sir. How are you?
All right. My name is Sean Cooper. I've been citizen of Shawnee forever. And I believe that Southside needs to be some help, and I think that her bringing the liquor store would be all right. That's all I have to
Very
say.
good. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Come on up, sir. Rick, I'll get you next, I promise. How are you, sir? And if you would, make sure you give the city clerk your name.
Charles Basque. B-A-S-U-E. I'm the pastor of Pioneer Baptist Church, which is directly across the street at an angle from the location.
Yes, sir.
And up until 2020, I've been there 30 years now as the pastor. We had at least 15 break-ins, destruction, and in the last 4 years, we've only had one. The liquor store, the convenience store across the street from us went out of business. They sold liquor, they sold beer. They're out of business now because they had so many problems with loitering and people going and stealing, and so they're not even in business. We've had our mailbox run over several times, at least once that I know of for sure. They've broken out our windows. We had to make it permanent so they couldn't go in the windows. I was at church one morning and the front door was laying on the sidewalk, and we've had to call the police. We had 4 people arrested for pounding on the windows before we fixed that problem. And they were arrested, all 4 of them. They were all 21 years old. They were all drunk. And so we have kids in the parking lot, which is less than 300 feet. Our property is less than 300 feet from their property. They're saying from door to door. But if this is going to be a drive-up, there's not going to be the business that they're talking about, and the business for our church is people actually going inside and being in. Now, they're not doing that. So it should be from the property to property. The law says from property to property or door to door. But they're not going to be an open door policy. They're going to be a drive-through. And if you know where it's at over there on the south side, if it wasn't for Beard and Highway 18 going, out of town there, you know that the only people that use that are big trucks and the people that live in that neighborhood. I canvassed 3 blocks on both sides. We're the ones that did the petition. We went to get people to sign, but we were told the only way we could, and the only ones that could sign would be the owners of the properties, and at least 1/3 of the owners who were on the list that they sent out, which was 45 people that they sent the letter to about the, making it a liquor store again. They don't even live in the neighborhood. Some are in Texas, Louisiana, other places. And none of these people live in that neighborhood, none of them. And so we're the ones dealing with them. We're the ones who, I've been in situations where I thought I was going to have to use my gun because they were there, drunk, on drugs, doing damage to our property. We have kids in the parking lot during church services, after church services, and we're asking that you not. For over 30 years we've been there, and now we're going to have the same problems again, regardless of what they say or what they claim. She said it was just going to be a drive up, and then she said if people are going to walk up. To me that doesn't. I'm hoping that you would take some common sense and say the store on the corner of Beard and Farrell, they sell beer. And so anybody that's going to be walking by, they can walk there. It's not 3 miles away. It's about 5 to 6 blocks away to buy liquor and wine, because that store right on the corner there sells beer and wine. So they can get there And so we're asking, because it is a problem for us, and we've had people come up to get, they panhandle to get money, gas, and they think just because we're a church, we're obligated to buy them. Now, we put gas in people's car, we buy them groceries if they need it. We don't give cash to people because the fact is they buy liquor and they do other things that they're not supposed to be, that we don't consider to be right. So we're just asking that the common sense issue here is kids and people who have been accosted and been, threatened. And so we're asking that you table it or do whatever it is you want to do with it. I mean, it's right, because it's not right to put more. They're talking about 1 or 2 people working in that store during the day, and that's not adding to the economy. That's that little store across the street went out of business. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? I'm gonna let Rick, because Rick started up and then I stopped. Okay, Teresa, all yours.
Well, honestly, I don't want to see that in Ward 3, but I think we need to look at the property and how we do signatures on, when they're going out to get signatures. He was saying most of the area around there is absentee landlords. I mean, we need to look at that because it's the people who live there that have to suffer. And, they sign a petition because they want a better community, but they're not allowed to really even have a say. So I think we need to look at that at some point, because that affects all of Ward 3, just about. There are so many properties that are absentee landlords. So that was one thing that came to my mind when I was listening to him talk. But I think it's very important that we watch what we put in Ward 3, watch what we put in our community, because if we don't, we're going to have the wrong things, and people are struggling right now. There's so many people with addiction problems, alcohol, gambling, drugs. It's in our community. It's right next door neighbors. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rick, your turn.
Once again, good evening. I fully understand now why the moratorium was lifted. I didn't know this was going to occur tonight, but I'm not a Boy Scout, but I am prepared. Jennifer, Joe, everybody that's here that wants
Rick,
to be.
please confine your.
I'll address that. Protocol. Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the entrepreneurs that want to come south of Maine and add to the community. We've already had a discussion about HRC, the homeless, the unhoused, the addicted, the insane, the criminals. That is a bigger picture than what we see. Now, as a resident of this community of this 65 years, 61 of them has been here. Most recently, in our rise to raise policies throughout Shawnee, America, we've raised 3 churches in that district. I didn't know that the pastor pioneer was coming tonight, but he's part of the spotlight that overshadows this body. I want to make that public, okay, personally and public. I personally am back in my community as an 18-year-old young man, graduate of Shawnee High School, Mr. Senior 1977, athlete and all of that, to be brought back as an assignment to make this community better than I found it. My dad served 12 years on that dais up there. My brother had a turn up there too. And I think most of you guys that know me, there's nowhere in that place or that place that I set up there, because that's not my calling. I want the people that are coming to Shawnee, America, from Shawnee North to Fall Lake City, to make this a better place. We have a short period of time because of the outgrowth from Oklahoma City, Big League Oklahoma City, the $900 million that we just passed, international destination with O'Connor, with our red reparations in the state of Oklahoma. Let me say that one more time. With our red reparations of Oklahoma. Trail of Tears, our tectonic paradigm shift for this area in Ward 3 specifically. Sometimes I wonder, does the people of Shawnee understand that Ward 3 is the business district? Now, we talk about Dunbar Heights extended. There are most people that don't have a clue to what Dunbar Heights was. And when people from 30,000 feet could come in here and say, we want to go to the most depressed area in Shawnee, I was thinking that, is this a movie? The most depressed area in the world and bring alcohol. What? Fire water. A drive-through. I've been here for some time. My dad died in 14, which sat up there for 12 years. I'm not called for this. I do have a call, and that is to shine a spotlight, make this place better. And I said that once, I'm going to say it again, to understand that I welcome the entrepreneurs that want to come south and make it an economic boom. Starting at Carl's Corridor, from Big Furrow to Fire Lake City Edge, River Bridge, including Squirrel's compound that is now under the bridge. And I don't know how many of his citizens were moved to that compound. He was asking for trash help. So I envision that my brothers who with their economic, it's nice, they carry it somewhere else. You can go get liquored up, you can get drunk. As a matter of fact, I have a sign I took today saying, get baked. You can get baked in Shawnee, America, on Main Street. Cammie has liquor at her place. They can go there and get lit. Shawnee, America, if you know anything about her, at one point in time, we had 75 bars in Shawnee. 75 bars in Shawnee. The pastor of Pioneer Church, I know they prayed, they interceded that God would shut that place down. And it is. Now we're going to reopen it. Now to draw you another picture, I'm not an artist, but I'll draw a picture with my words. I can see 20 people in line on 20-inch bicycles with backpacks on, waiting to get a fifth of Jack Daniels with license in hand. Now, that might be funny, but it's really not. I most recently, believe it or not, and I never thought this was happening, I bought a home in Ward 3. So, when I was up here before, and I was talking to before this council, I wasn't really totally vested. I'm more invested now. I'm invested in this young lady right here to where that she's going to wear me like a badge. Because Ward 3 means a lot to me as well as it does to you. I want to say this real quick. You cut me off. I'm not cutting you off. I'm done, right? I do know I want to see that. They can partner with those people in Ward 3 to develop something more than just a liquor store. We've had enough liquor stores. They can get baked, they can get lit, they can get stoned, all they want to. I'm just saying, for me, whether I get and sign a petition, whether it's 300 foot, 500 foot, or 1,000 feet, the spotlights are on. Thank you. I'm opposed.
If you would.
The point of order is that the public hearing must be germane to the case at hand.
Mm-hmm. And I thought we were a little close to the edge there, but I wanted to give him a little latitude. Who else would like to speak in opposition? Come on forward, sir. So I thought he was still talking about the issue there.
Good evening, Mayor. I'm Bill McCutcheon. I'm the pastor of Calvary Pentecostal Church, which we are on the other side of Pioneer Baptist. And according to Google, when we measure on Google, we are approximately around 280 feet, around there, somewhere around in there. And according to state law, Article 2-139, and I do have extra copies if y'all would want those. But it states that that it shall shall be unlawful for any mixed beverage establishment, beer, wine establishment, or bottle company which has been licensed by Able Commission and which has as its main purpose to selling or serving alcohol beverages for consumption on the premises or package store to be located within 300 feet of any public or private school or church property. It says properties and primarily and regularly used for worship services and religious activities. And then also, it also states in the second page, it talks about time frame after the business has shut down, and it's within 60 days. Once the business has shut down within 60 days, and it's within those distance and perimeters, that it shall not be renewed. And the concern is I've been there for a little over 20 years, and there has multiple times, we do, not necessarily on Sundays, but I think the Liars Club was actually open on Sundays, but we would have people come in the church. Some would be drunk. They want money. I had in the beginning, I would give them money, but I would follow them because you do have your regulars, and they would go right back into the bar. So in accordance to that, I feel like that even if it's a liquor store, let's don't fool ourselves. We know that they're going to drink on the premises, or they're going to walk off to the creek across the way, or the abandoned store, and they're going to drink. So it encourages in that area for these things to be. Well, our church also rents the property that is right on Farrell, which is directly west of the bar. Well, sometimes we have kids' functions there. The last thing we need is somebody coming that's half snookered or causing trouble amongst our kids. We have lady functions throughout the night. The last thing we need is those things transpiring, somebody wanting to walk in the door. And we have had those in the past. And I will say that it is better since the bar has not been there. Those events have been better. I'm not going to say that it does not happen because it is a lower income resident area. It's a troubled area. We do a bus ministry there. So, I realize that we're going to have some trouble to an extent, but I do feel like that this would encourage it to be even more. And once it's already been said, I feel like that it's already kind of a depressed people, oppressed people. They don't, last thing we need is a liquor store there that takes a dad or a mother or a grandmother or a grandfather, takes money from utility bills, food. It just encourages all that. We already have enough of that as it is with our bus ministry that we pick up with the kids in the area. So I'm just here to represent a Calvary Pentecostal Church in saying that we are asking you guys not to allow this to be. Not anything against the people. I just feel like if there's going to be a business in there, well, somebody open up that little convenience store again. Put a gas station there. Something like that other than a bar that just attracts trouble and causes it to be a more troubled area.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Got one more, looks like. How are you, sir?
I'm a member of Pioneer Baptist Church, and I've been there. We moved here from New Mexico when I was 14, so I've been going to that church ever since I was 14. I'm 45 now, but ever since I've been going there, I've mowed the grass, and after I work a regular job, and when I get off work, I go over there and do maintenance, and I do yard work, and so I'm there a lot, almost every day after work. I get up at 3, and I see people walking that road constantly, And then I was here at the first meeting with and she said that absolutely nobody would be able to walk up, that she would turn them away. And now she's saying if they have a valid ID, that they would be able to get liquor, so they could just get it and walk. And I think that would be a major problem, just be able to walk up there and what do you think they're gonna do after they walk up there? You think, someone might walk home, but someone we're gonna drink too. And I just think that could be a problem. And, everybody says it's a depressed community, but I grew up there. There's a lot of good people there. It's not just, everybody thinks it's a bad place, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad place. And like I said, I've been there a long time, and I love the place, and we just want it to be better. We don't want it to be worse. And I don't see how putting a liquor store could make it better. From seeing the bar, it made it worse. And so I just want to say, we want to make it better, not worse. Just because it will bring in commerce doesn't mean it actually makes it better. That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, sir. Come on forward. Be sure you give her your name.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just think about it. The biggest thing is if this were a restaurant or an ice cream parlor or a hamburger stand or something, it wouldn't be the issue that it is. But we have problems as it is with the homeless in this area. How would something like this help with that situation? I contend that it probably wouldn't. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing none, then I will close the public hearing. And we'll move on to discussion here. We'll move on to item 11, consideration of a conditional use permit CUP to operate a liquor store on the property of 523 South Chapman Avenue, case number CUP 01-24, applicant Jennifer Hunt. Mr. Harkins, you are up again.
Having noticed properly, having done public hearing process, open and closing, again, staff's recommendation is to defer the item or actually remand it back to the Planning Commission for additional discussion. In terms of alternatives for this item, really your options are as follows. You can approve with the conditions presented in the Planning Commission staff report, which would mean they would have to meet ABLE licensing requirements in order to operate and have the CUP remain in place. You can deny the CUP request. You can table the item to a date certain if you feel additional discussion is warranted at this level, or you can take staff's recommendation and remand back to the Planning Commission for additional consideration.
Okay, very good. Questions for Ryan?
Do we do any of our own do we do any of our own measurements?
No.
Are we excluded from doing that by state law, or we just leave it up to ABLE?
We typically leave it up to ABLE since they are the licensing body.
And if I'm reading it correctly, the 300 feet is not a us requirement in C3, it is allowed.
That is an ABLE requirement. The 300 feet that we do in our requirements is for notification purposes regarding public notice. And that would be the adjacent property owners within that radius.
And then just from my experience, being on Planning Commission before I came to City Commission, planning's job is to determine, does it meet our code and criteria? Not. And then our job is to determine, does it meet and do we need it? We have more of a discretionary as opposed to planning, which is saying, yes, it conforms, no, it doesn't.
Planning is making typically is an advisory body to you with regard to, does it meet code? Is it within the intent of the comprehensive plan as well as the intent of the code?
Okay.
The discussion at the Planning Commission was split because there was concerns about alcohol and the volume of potential sales, and the other items discussed by those in opposition tonight. Those in favor felt like it met the intent of the zoning code. It was already zoned C3. They felt because the applicant was trying to limit the amount of sales and the way it was done, as well as trying to provide an opportunity for a business to succeed at a vacant property, those were some of their reasons for voting in favor. But again, it was a 3-3 tie.
This may seem irrelevant, but I'll get to it. Current sales tax rate, of which portion comes to the city, is 4%?
That is correct.
Okay. So, I'm no expert in economic development, and I appreciate anybody that, and I think others have spoken to the need for development in Ward 3. We need that. However, I don't know that it's real economic development when 96 cents of every dollar is going to leave this town. We have out-of-town owners that are going to take money from our residents, regardless of your opinion of whether it's a vice and in a highly vulnerable area, and that money is going to leave town. We're going to get 4% of every dollar. And so I just don't know that it's great economic development. In my mind, it's just hasn't crossed the barrier of this is what Ward 3 needs. We need activity, but we don't need activity that causes more demand on social services and those types of things. So I won't be supporting the motion to remand or pass.
I didn't hear the last few words.
I won't support a motion to remand or pass.
Okay, very good, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay. So do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we deny the permit.
I'll second.
Okay. Very good. We have a motion and a second to, put, I guess, against item 11. Joe, am I phrasing that correctly?
It is a motion to deny the conditional use permit.
Okay.
Which would be a vote against. That's correct.
All righty. So, I guess a no is to deny, you would vote yes.
That is correct.
There we go. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page so we don't have anything accidentally happen. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to deny passage of item 11. So we will call the question.
I need clarity. It says motion is to deny, so
If you vote yes, you're denying the application.
Okay, that's making sure. I just want to be clear.
Okay. And motion passes 5-1. Item 12, consideration of following budget amendments for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. It looks like we have about 3 of them. So how are you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Doing well.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Regarding the budget amendments, a total budget amendment in the amount of $387,124.52 across all funds should be considered. For the 302 fund, the city has partnered with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation for the removal and replacement of the Main Street Bridge over Shawnee Creek, just west of Tucker Avenue. There is a change from the initial estimate, which requires a budget amendment in the Street Improvement Fund. The amount for appropriation is $63,871. The amendment is funded by sales tax collections in excess of the budget projections in the Street Improvement Fund. For the general fund, the traffic department had an encumbrance from the fiscal year 22-23 for the purchase of signs and materials needing replaced as a result of the April 2023 tornado. The budget amendment appropriates the fund balance in order to make the final payment to the vendor. The amount is $12,602. This amendment is funded by fund balance. For the 603 fund, we've received additional insurance proceeds from the April 2023 tornado in the amount of $181,510.27. We also received $17,693.98 from a separate weather event in July 2023 that damaged the Boy Scout Park splash pad. The budget amendment appropriates those funds in the insurance recovery fund. The amendment is funded from insurance recovery proceeds. For the grant fund, the fire department applied for and was awarded a federal grant from the Department of Homeland Security for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant in the amount of $111,447.27. The grant requires the city to contribute 10% of local funds, or $11,144.73, for a total of $122,592 expended. These funds will be to purchase self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA, the cylinders, masks with voice amplifiers, and thermal imaging cameras. The grant will be in addition to the budget previously approved for the SCBA's. The amount for the appropriation, I think I misspoke earlier, is $111,447.27. The amendment is funded from the federal grant revenue. I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Angel? If not, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Daniel and Darren. So we have a motion and a second for approval of item 12. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 13 is considered bids. Looks like we've got the Marie Drive Waterline Project Award. Seth, how are you?
Doing well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We opened bids for the Marie Drive Waterline Project on February 8th. At that bid opening, we had 5 bids. Since then, staff, along with our design consultant, has reviewed the bids. At this time, staff recommends awarding to Circle B Underground LLC. We recommend awarding the base bid and alternate one for a total contract amount of $529,004. Project is funded as part of the state ARPA allocation, and it is a part of our capital improvement plan. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have in regards to the bid.
Any questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll second.
So Cammy and Mark. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 13. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 14 is acknowledged monthly sales tax and budget report. Angel is up again. You can move that mic.
Well, I think it's okay.
Alrighty.
So this is the monthly sales tax report. The sales tax for February totaled $2,697,214.47, which includes $3,335.16 in interest. This is distributed across 8 funds. The receipts in February are from estimated January sales tax and final sales numbers in December. February 2024 collections are at a 12.5% increase over February of last year. However, with the addition of the half-cent sales tax, the actual year-over-year is a decrease of 1.6%. When comparing collections to the conservative budget projections for February, we are 1.7% above projections for the month and 6.8% above collections year-to-date. Use tax for February totaled $524,773, which is 44% above projected collections for the month and 22.5% above projections year-to-date. When you combine the use tax and the general fund portion of sales tax, the general fund is currently $1,127,677 above projections, which is equivalent to 9.1%. On the last page of the report is a sales tax collections comparison chart by month for the last 12 months. This comparison includes the cities of Yukon, Ardmore, Muskogee, Bartlesville, Stillwater, and Enid. These cities were selected with 3 factors in mind: population, city tax rate revenue, and revenue per 1% sales tax. We see a slight decline in sales tax numbers for the month. From January to February, Shawnee's collections decreased by 0.29%. However, that is in line with what other cities are experiencing as well. In general, a downward trend is not good for budget preparation, and we will continue to monitor the numbers.
Very good.
And with that, I'll answer any questions.
You got any questions? Nope. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Item 15 is administrator reports. Looks like first one is biannual progress report of the capital improvement plan, fiscal year 2024 to 2028. Danny Weiss, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Mayor. How are you doing?
Doing great.
I'm a lot louder than she was, so I'll step back a little bit. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm stalling just a little bit because there's supposed to be some slides. There we go. Yes, so I am giving you guys an update on our 5-year capital improvement plan. This is a mid-year update. I have been drafted into this. You'll notice I'm not Lindsay, who was originally going to give you guys this. All right, I always get that wrong, but I got it right the first time. So just real quick, I want to recap about what the goals of the capital improvement plan was. It's to consistently make decisions related to capital improvement aligned with overall city goals and objectives regarding the physical and economic development of the community, asset management, and the provision of public services. It's to promote financial stability and focus attention on the city's long-term financial capacity to meet capital needs, and effectively communicate the city's priorities and plans for undertaking capital projects to internal and external stakeholders. The policy itself outlines some pretty important definitions: the implementation and development of the plan, prioritization of different capital projects, the allocation of resources to the plan, and final submission of the plan to the mayor and commissioners for approval. The improved capital improvement plan is a 5-year plan, and we use that in developing the capital project portion of our annual budget. And part of that policy states that we will do a mid-year update, which is what we're doing right now. Just a little bit more information. What is a capital project? This slide defines our capital expenditure thresholds. Infrastructure, land and facility improvements, those in excess of 50,000. Vehicles, the benchmark is 20,000. It's also that for machinery and equipment. So that's a little bit of a recap of what the capital improvement plan. You guys remember when you did this before I got here, but as you guys did all this in the past, that is the plan as it was adopted. This policy, it went into effect on July 1st, and you all adopted the first 5-year plan for fiscal years 24 through 28. This plan, when adopted, included 118 projects, but it has been amended 3 times and now includes 122 projects. There were amendments in July to add pressure paving. There was another amendment for some airport projects, 2 different airport projects, and then a final amendment this January to add another project out at the airport. You can see on this slide that I'm struggling to see back there, but it's kind of broken down in the different entities that those projects were in. Here's the status. This is what everybody wants to know. What is the status of all these projects? So you can see around the wheel there kind of the percentage of the projects that are in these different statuses. Of note, you'll see 4% are canceled. That is equivalent to 3 projects. That one of those is a cemetery request to purchase some land. That land was sold before we were able to buy it. 2 different projects at the airport were canceled because the buildings aren't there anymore. So those are no longer a part of the plan. We did have 11 projects that we have deferred due to different funding and supply issues. And then we have several ongoing projects. You'll see there's the 4%. Those are projects that are year over year, and they're replacements. So it's computer replacements, switch replacements, stuff like that. completed projects, this is the exciting thing. So you'll notice, I'm gonna go back if I'm smart enough. Okay, you'll notice on the last slide that 15% are complete. So we've completed 15%, 4% are ongoing, 45% in progress, and 4% are in the planning stage. I didn't excel at math, so I'm not going to add that up really quickly. I'm much more of a communicator than a math person, but it is a substantial amount in the 70% range that we have in some level of going, which we're pretty excited about given what happened in the immediate lead up to the adoption of this policy. So with that said, back to these completed projects. These include fleet replacements. So we've purchased 7 vehicles. We've added that replaced existing vehicles. We've added the volumetric truck that was a meeting, last meeting. We have gotten an asphalt machine for the street department. We got a UTV for the cemetery and a sign machine for the traffic department. Also, here's some completed projects that we've done on some physical stuff that we can see. Woodland Veterans Park has been completed. The water treatment plant upgrade has been completed. We have completed a reconstruction at Katy Drive. Despite the fact that the airport still needs a lot of work, we have completed the drainage project and the Highland Street sidewalk project. Some next steps, what we're doing right now is we've begun the budget process. We're also evaluating the CIP plan. Of note, when this policy was passed, it was set to review every 2 years. Staff has determined that we want to review that annually for now because we have learned a lot in the first year about the way we've been doing this process and how many projects we can actually do in 1 year. And so we're going to review this annually. So right now what's happening is as we're doing the budget process, we're also reviewing this plan. And so we will come to this body when we work to adopt the budget to re-adopt a new CIP for the next 5 years. We're hoping to ultimately get that to a 2-year cycle, but for now we're going to keep it on an annual cycle just so that we can make it fresh and get things kind of spread out as they need to be so that we can have a greater ability to make sure we can complete everything that we sign up for. That was a lot of information really quickly, but with that I would be happy to answer any questions you might have about the CIP mid-year update.
But got questions for Danny? Doesn't look like a good update.
Easy enough.
Thank you very much. All right, we are up to item 16, which is new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 17 is commissioners' comments. Mark? You don't have anyone to your right, so we'll have you go first.
I get to be first, and Alan's not here.
Yeah.
Sales tax report, with the increase in use tax, it's probably about a wash as far as the amount. So it's something I think, we need to pay attention to with just the economics that's going on. The liquor store, that's a hot topic, just like the homeless. Nobody wants this stuff in their neighborhoods, and we got to figure out a way to deal with it, but that's going to be really a hard choice for everybody. On a separate note, really our job is water, sewer, police, fire, which are core things of the community. One other thing which we don't do is school system. And the schools got destroyed with the tornadoes. We have an opportunity to do a lot of neat things, and Dr. Esboat has kind of brought to the table a proposition to reallocate funds from our elementary that we're going to build. And a lot of things have changed since we voted on that 10 years ago or 5 or 6 years ago. And we really don't need the capacity like we thought we were going to grow. So they're wanting to reallocate funds to fix the school district so everybody in the district benefits from it, not just a few. I think it's extremely important economically to have a first-class education system. We have OBU here, which is one of the better colleges in the state. And really our school district is pretty dated. Even our new stuff is dated. You know, the middle school is 20 years old. So we have an opportunity, you know, that we're going to vote on here in the next couple weeks or next, 30 days that is extremely important to the community. You know, whether you're for it or against it, everybody needs to get out and vote. But I think if you look at the proposal, it's pretty well self-standing on its own. You know, we're fortunate to have Dr. Esboat here. You know, he's kind of coming from the outside in. And his kids are in the district. My grandkids are in the district. You know, very seldom do I get up and beat the drum for anything, but I think this is a necessity for the community.
Thank you, sir.
I'm done.
I want to thank staff for preparing the agenda this week, a lot goes into it. I'm glad no one was injured today or this evening on Broadway. I hope they're got the gas shut off and all of that is going to go back into place well, and hope everyone has a good week.
Thank you, sir.
Me?
Your turn.
Oh, you don't have anything? Okay.
Well, I'll be last.
I see. Oh, off topic, but I want to say congratulations to the Shawnee High School girls swim team. They just won their 3rd state championship. They had challenges. They didn't have a place to practice. I'm not sure exactly where they practiced, but they found a way and they managed to come out. Ward 3, I hear you. I hear you. I hear every one of you. I asked for contacts. I wanted people to talk to me about this changing of the 1,000 feet distance from the shelter, and I heard a lot of people, but I'm willing to hear more. I would love to hear from you regarding that, and not just homeowners like that protest petition required. I want renters. I want everyone to contact. Just let us know. We need to know how you feel about this changing. And that is pretty much it. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
I want to say again, congratulations to our robotics teams. And I saw a couple high school kids that I recognized here tonight that are now advanced out of that middle school group that went to World, and now they're mentoring those younger kids. So the robotics team has become a really awesome source of pride for the community, and a thing that I think can help us sustain some of these kids that are interested in science and math, and how cool for the community that we have this badge of pride, and we might be the school to beat at world competitions for years to come, thanks to those awesome teachers and coaches. Yes, just like Yana expressed, I'd also like to hear from you about the 1,000 feet, the new, just the discussion that we had tonight. I think we hit on some important topics. It's very important to me that we find a safe, humane, clean place where the unhoused can get the treatments that they need. It will benefit us all, even if we are not directly suffering with that. And from a family member or a friend, it will benefit the entire community to make sure that we can somehow collaboratively, with coordinated efforts, as some of our volunteers said earlier, come up with some solutions. And I applaud this board and the staff and the volunteers for keeping on to try to come up with some solutions here. And also, it really touched my heart to hear from, we have people come and complain about a lot of things, and that's fine, and I'm happy to listen to that, about things they don't like or what the city could be doing differently. But we often don't have people who come up who really put their money where their mouth is. And so to hear from the volunteers that have been working with the homeless for 12 years, I hear you, and I appreciate what you had to say. It's a complex issue. I know we just got a lot of heat for the no sit, no lie. So we're looking for solutions that will benefit not only our unhoused, but also our residents and our business owners, and that's a large ball of yarn to unravel. The liquor store, I voted no. I should have said something earlier just to explain my vote, because I don't think people should just vote against, but it kind of happened fast. So to quickly explain my position, I'm pro-business, really pro-business. I'm pro-entrepreneurship, and the city runs on sales tax. So you have a long ways to go to convince me to vote against a business owner. If it fits within, I was on the planning commission to Commissioner Matthews, so if it fits within the requirements that we see from a planning commission and a commission standpoint, I don't see it as my job as a commissioner to interpret able commission laws preemptively. So I have a little bit more dealing with able commission. So if there was something that, you know, wasn't right with the law, able commission's going to let you know. They carry a gun, they come to town, like they're going to let you know. And I don't know if a liquor store is the same as a beer bar that caused problems before, if it did, and I respect the residents that came speaking against today, and I hear them. My no vote was more, it's hard for me to vote against a business owner wanting to put a legal business in a vacant building. So that's what I wanted to say about that. That's all I've got for tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
Some robust discussion tonight on a variety of complex issues, and I think I'm reminded that progress isn't always linear. It's not always A, then B, then C. I think we've seen some of that, throwing stuff back and forth, looking at ideas, looking for solutions, and thankful to work with the team up here and the staff and citizens that want to work together to find the best solutions for our community. We heard earlier from our OMAG friends, and I think it's what we all want to do, is build a community that attracts quality individuals to live, work, and raise families here. And sometimes those are complex discussions, and they don't always go straight. There's setbacks, and so I think we've seen some of that tonight, and it's healthy, and it's how we grow. And sales tax numbers were interesting to look at. You know, I think they remind us again, and when we look at sales tax was flat to slightly worse than last year, but use tax was through the roof. That's good for the city. That's potentially not good for local business owners. And so that buy local year-round matters. That matters to residents of Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 4, Ward 5, and Ward 6. And those are the people that are trying to raise their families here. And so anytime we can, you know, the city gets a total amount, but then we get to see the breakout of how it got here. And so, you know, when we look at what we're reporting in February, December actuals and January estimates, it means that some of our local businesses had rougher Christmases on sales than we would have wanted. And so we kind of bang that drum in October and November, but if we talk about it year-round to buy local, it helps them year-round. So just something that stuck out to me, so that's all I got.
Thank you, sir. You know, Daniel, you made a very good point there. I think all 6 wards, everybody essentially wants the same thing. I mean, the same things are important to everybody living in every ward, and we have to remember that. We talked about some really difficult things tonight. I mean, the talk of a homeless, and I guess shelter is the word we'll use. That's, you know, an emergency shelter. I mean, there's all kinds of different things you can call it. There's you know, a lot of things that'll get people excited when we discuss that. But, you know, not discussing it, not figuring out a solution is not doing anything to deal with this problem. If we just put it under the rug and we don't deal with it, we still have the problem. No sit, no lie. That didn't change a thing. Still got the same number of homeless that are in town. They're still here, but they're just hiding. So we have got to figure out, and it can be done. I mean, other cities have made progress on it and done it in organized fashions that don't have to be unsightly, they don't have to be bad neighbors. It can be done. You have to do it in a way that you're not just warehousing people, that you are making the wraparound services that are needed to be available to people, that the folks that we can get out of that situation as quickly as we can. That's what we want to do. That helps the unhoused. It also helps the housed, because the complaints that we hear are not from unhoused people. It's from housed people. But they're not the ones out sleeping on the street. And there's people sleeping out on the street for lots of different reasons. I mean, I really hate, and I've said, people probably heard me say this, probably tired of me saying it, but I really hate that we just have one word to describe this situation, because everybody's situation is unique. And the only way that I have seen that you can deal with that is you've got to become familiar with those people, and you've got to be familiar with each one of their circumstances, and then try to match them to services to get them out of that situation. There's going to be some that we're never going to be able to get out of that situation, because either they've got, mental issues, drug and alcohol issues, whatever. But it's a very, very, very complex thing. So, in my mind, the option of not doing anything is not an option, because it just leaves us in the situation that we are in right now, and nobody likes that. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot more discussion on that, but it can be done. It can be done in an organized and coherent fashion that will, I think, benefit the unhoused and the housed. So we will keep working on that, and I know we're going to have a lot more conversation on that. The liquor store discussion was really difficult. When you sit up here and you have to pull the trigger on a vote, no matter how you vote, sometimes maybe you're 100% in agreement with how you're voting, and sometimes maybe you're just 51% in agreement with how you're voting, because it's not just black and white. There's a lot of gray. And this is one that I really struggled with. I mean, I hate to be up here telling people what kind of business. If it's a legal business and it's a legal location, I have a real struggle with telling people that they can't do that. This was probably one I was 51% on the way that I voted. I mean, that's definitely one that I struggled with. There's lots, I heard lots of issues about liquor stores and that sort of thing, and I get all that, but also know there's how many other liquor stores in town, and if you can walk up to the one they're talking about, putting in, or they were proposing, you can walk up to all the others. I mean, there's some not far from where I live. I mean, it's just, a difficult situation. Do want to thank staff again for all the reports. I really appreciate you passing that information on to us and to everyone that takes time to attend the meetings and to watch it on YouTube, whether they do it tonight or maybe tomorrow when it fits their schedule better. So we really appreciate that, how you educate us on what's going on here in town. I want to echo what Mark said about the school district. I mean, we have two big decisions to make on April 2nd, and I mean, that is really important. I mean, we've got to have a good school district, which, I mean, I'm convinced that we do. But, I mean, our, you know, the question is, do our kids deserve better? And I think Dr. Espald has made it very clear that yes, they do. The thought of benefiting 1,700 kids instead of 200 kids, I mean, makes perfect sense to me. But, you know, we've got school districts here. We are so lucky to have a tech center here and a 4-year university here. And that's really important, and everybody in town benefits that. Everybody surrounding Shawnee benefits that. And I think it's a great economic development tool. I mean, to me, this is just so right on so levels. So I definitely echo what Commissioner Seahorn had to say. Again, very grateful that nobody got hurt up the street. The stuff we can fix. So I'm glad everybody walked away from there safely, and I'm sure our folks will take care of that situation. So, you know, we all need to be very thankful that nobody got hurt. With that, I don't think I have anything else. So we will recess the City Commission meeting by the power of the chair to convene Shawnee Airport Authority and the Shawnee Municipal Authority. And so we will move on to the Airport Authority. And I'll give everybody a minute, including myself, to get signed out of this meeting and then go to our next meeting. Everybody in and good?
Did you leave your other meeting?
Do we want to just, I mean, since we just have the one item, do we want to just, did you get it? Okay, cool. Okay, so item 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda. Is there anything, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We will call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 2 is new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. We are adjourned, and we will go on to the municipal authority. So I'll give everybody time to get out of this one. I know it made me do it twice. Everybody in okay?
Mm-hmm.
You see everybody?
I'm in. I'll go out and back in. Try that.
There we go. All righty. Item 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel and Cammie. So we have a motion and a second approval of item 1. Call the question. And it passes 6-0. Item 2 is consideration of a budget amendment for fiscal year 2023 to 2024 for Shawnee Municipal Authority Fund 501 to fund a replacement vehicle that was damaged in an accident with insurance proceeds received in the prior fiscal year. Angel, it's your turn again.
Hello again. I'll try to yell at you this time. So for this one, a total budget amendment in the amount of $21,761 should be considered. In April of 2023, so last fiscal year, the city received insurance proceeds in the amount of $21,761 for a water department vehicle that was damaged in an accident. A budget amendment was approved by the Shawnee Municipal Authority at the April 17 meeting for the fiscal year 22-23 budget. However, the purchase of that vehicle was not done prior to the end of the fiscal year due to vehicle supply issues. Now that the vehicle is ready, a budget amendment is required in this fiscal year, 23-24. The amount for appropriation is the $21,761. The amendment is funded from fund balance.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Darren and Mark. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 2. We will call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 3 is new business.
No new business.
Thank you, ma'am. And let's see, we are adjourned, and then we will return and reconvene the city commission meeting at item 18 by the power of the chair. So I'll let everybody get back out, and we'll get to item 18. You get it okay? Everybody in? Daniel, you good? Everybody good down this end? See everybody? All right, thumbs up. All righty, 18 is consider an executive session in accordance with 25 OS 307B4 to discuss confidential communication between a public body and its attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action if the public body, with the advice of its attorney, determines that disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the public body to process the claim or conduct a pending investigation, litigation, or proceeding in the public interest, specifically regarding the PFAS settlement deferred from the January 16, 2024 City Commission meeting. Any discussion? Do we have a motion? And I have one question for you, Mr. City Attorney. We can do both of these, and then if the body so chooses, we go to executive session.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Do we need to read the title of 19 and make a motion for both, or?
We'll need to read the agenda item and vote on each item separately, and then we can.
So we might as well just deal with this one and then deal with the next one, but we can do that before we get out in the hall.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Just want to make sure everybody was good with that. So right now, we're looking for a motion on item 18. Thank you, sir. Aaron and Cammie. So we have a motion and a second for approval of item 18. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. So item 19 is considered an executive session in accordance with 25 OS 307B4 to discuss confidential communications between a public body and its attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action if the public body, with the advice of its attorney, determines that disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the public body to process the claim or conduct a pending investigation, litigation, or proceeding in the public interest, specifically regarding ACLU letters.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel and Cammie. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 19. We'll call the question. And motion passes 6-0, so we will recess, go into executive session, and then we will be back.
Even your computer's tired.
Let me tell you. I don't know why I'm signing back into this, because I ain't probably gonna be here real long. There we go. Okay, guess if we're ready, we'll get started again. So, item 20 is consider matters discussed in executive session in accordance with 25 OS 307B4 to discuss confidential communications between a public body and its attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action if the public body, with the advice of its attorney, determines that disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the public body to process the claim or conduct a pending investigation, litigation, or proceeding in the public interest, specifically regarding the PFAS settlement deferred from January 16, 2024, City Commission meeting. Discussion. Motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city's attorneys to withdraw the request for exclusion from the aqueous film foaming foam AFFF product liability litigation MDL 2873.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Daniel and Darren, I think that was. We have a motion and a second on 20.
Commissioner Matthews, can you have that written down?
I do.
And I get that after the
Yes.
meeting? Thank you.
That's usually what, $10?
I think
All right, let's call the question. And our monitor went asleep, so.
Did it go to sleep?
It did, but that's okay. There it is
There it
over
is.
here. So motion passes 6-0. Item 21 is consider matters discussed in executive session in accordance with 25 OS 307B4 to discuss confidential communications between a public body and its attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action if the public body, with the advice of its attorney, determines that disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the public body to process the claim or conduct a pending investigation, litigation, or proceeding in the public interest, specifically regarding ACLU letters. Any discussion, or do we have a motion? Seeing none, then we are adjourned.